Just as automakers vie to improve vehicle range, we have another set of players working to build faster chargers. And as electrification moves from small cars to pickup trucks and further to semis and fleets, we are increasingly hearing the term megawatt charging. That's what I would like to talk about today. But to start, I would like to repeat my oft repeated thoughts on the whole area of electric vehicle charging. I believe that unlike the early years, a decade ago, when most EVs offered barely 80 to 100 miles of range, the present day 250 plus miles EVs rely more on charging well and fast, more than on ever bigger battery packs that can't be charged. That being true, I also believe that consistent improvements in the average electric vehicle range, managed well with the trade off of higher pack weights and hazards, will boost overall EV adoption over the years. It's not about how far you travel on a single charge, but how easily and quickly you charge on long road trips. Even with 500 miles on a single charge, you ultimately have to charge. So why test the limits? Then a road trip will never be planned for the availability of charging past 250 miles, but not 500. A reliable charger won't be expected between 300 to 500 miles, but not under 300. So when looking at 1 megawatt charging, it's important to understand the basics. The current DC fast charging standard roughly works to a system range from 200 volt DC to 1000 volt DC, or in daily parlance, 50 kilowatt to 350 kilowatt. The standard, which by the way now looks on its way out after the increasing adoption of the NACS standard or the North American Charging Standard of Tesla, is the CCS or the Combined Charging Standard. The Megawatt Charging Standard or MCS, developed by a non-profit Charin, looks at 200 volt DC to 1250 volt DC, where the level 1 is 1000 amp or 1 megawatt and level 3 that's 3000 amp. There is also an intermittent standard level 2A and B. For 1 megawatt charging, one roughly puts out 1000 amp at 1000 volt DC. It's worth remembering that the manufactured cars have batteries with their pack voltage, which has to be in a position to accept that kind of power as well. The other side is important. It's always two to tango. In this context, I googled to check for work that's being put on this area. Here's what I found. I stumbled upon this company NXU, previously called Atlas. This is the demonstration of their 1 megawatt of charging from their YouTube channel put out about 3 months ago. Find the related links in the description below.
Now, without further ado, let's plug in and start charging. This is what the handle looks like. Now it's plugged in and let's start charging. And you're going to see over here, let's see how quickly we can get it to rise to above a megawatt, while maintaining a temperature that's low, safe to the touch. It takes about 5 seconds for it to refresh the screen for us to see the diagnostics data. There's a lot of information that's passing through. You have temperature, you got power, you got amperage, you got DC output voltage, you got a pre-charge voltage, and we have a graph over here to display the ramp up to above a megawatt. Currently, we're just a bit below a megawatt. We're at 988. Look at that, 1.08 megawatts. I don't think we're done there. I think we got more juice to squeeze out. 1.13 megawatts right there. 1.14. 1.16. Not giving up. There's more. 1.18. Incredible, man. Wow.
That was wonderful, right? So let's understand what it takes to get to MCS from CCS, or the problems that warrant the jump. When expanding upon the CCS standard, as you increase the amperage from the current 350 to 500 amps towards 1000 amps, you need to increase the size of the cable and correspondingly need more liquid cooling with the given limits and a bigger conductor. So the case gets built for a new handle that can accept that current. Again, the same limits apply to the existing cars, which can't accept currents exceeding 3 to 500 amps roughly. with a few going far in between. But the belief is that automakers will catch up when the technology permits. Work like this is being built upon the standards developed by the likes of Charin. Charin is a non-profit organization working on establishing standards on related technologies like plug and charge, automatic connection devices, conformance testing, and as stated earlier, CCS and MCS. In the description, find the links to their website and their white paper on megawatt charging. It's a global association of 320 members working on interoperability and unified charging standards. I think the recent developments in the US, with Ford and GM opting for the NACS, could have a major impact on standards as perceived only weeks ago. CCS in the US is probably dead. The CCS connector was clearly bad design and has been thus found out. From its weight to its lining up with the port was all difficult. Not to mention its vulnerable pin, often susceptible to breaking, a likely cause of a hazard in the public charging environment. Mind you, CCS2 in Europe is a different matter altogether. I hope that gave you some idea of this very interesting space, which could well push forward the electrification efforts of the world. It's also worth remembering that we are currently at the very early stages of electrification and witnessing some of the earliest efforts on these technologies. They are bound to grow and improve as the years go by, and the learning that happens here now will move on to the developing countries when they begin or proceed on their journey towards electrifying transport. And even as things unfold, everybody is waiting for the 1 megawatt charging solution expected to emerge from Tesla. If you see or hear anything about it, share it with us in the comments here. I will also be interested to hear from Charin their thoughts on the recent developments with Ford, GM, and Tesla, as this surely brings to the fore the severe failure of CCS to meet the DC fast charging needs of the many who adopted CCS charging cars recently. They were starting to discard electric vehicles, frustrated by the bad experience in public fast charging on CCS here in the US. The area is critical to the growth of electric vehicle adoption, and it would be great if all those involved cooperate with one another. And then, an even bigger problem is grids and their preparedness to handle this massive transition. But let's hold that for another video. I have no association whatsoever with any of the entities from this video. I'm a clean energy enthusiast and like to share developments as I see them unfold. If you like this content, support me with your likes and shares. Until the next one,